Morning, Sergeant Evans.
Aye?
Well, I thought it was, but then I'm only...
Why aren't you standing by with the rest?
I took a minute to check that duty roster.
Is that yours?
Yes, Sergeant.
Pick it up.
Well, I'll be off in a
minute.
minute.
Pick it up now. We'll have everything properly shipshape while he's around.
There are 3 things I value, Arthur.
What are they?
Teamwork, initiative, and integrity. Thamesford Constabulary still exemplifies all 3 qualities.
Thank you, sir.
In the year since my last inspection, the only changes made have been for the better.
Well, if I hadn't thought that, I wouldn't have made them.
Of course not. Well, what further displays of virtuosity do you have for me today?
We start with a task force practice alert at 9:30 on the parade ground. Just time for you to finish your coffee and savor the local paper.
What's the matter, then? Doesn't it fit anymore?
Well...
Getting big-headed since you came in the task force?
Sergeant?
You wanted to say something, boy?
Yes.
Why you're in checking a duty roster that you must know off by heart?
Yes. Do you take the Argus, Sergeant?
Kingly Argus?
Have you read it yet?
Only the sports and the headlines. There's no time for anything else this morning.
You'll, not have seen this, then? It's on page 5.
You wanted me to see this, of course.
Yes.
Why?
The other side of the coin. The brickbats as well as the bouquets.
My praise was justified.
Thank you.
Are these allegations also justified? Hmm? Well, I've a right to ask, since you brought them to my notice.
I can't answer you.
Oh, why not?
Not until the complaints are formally made and formally investigated. Until then, I will not prejudice my officers' interests by passing judgment on them either way.
Then why did you thrust this under my nose?
I'd rather you discovered it in my presence than have it whispered at your back door. That my officers have perjured themselves, uttered threats, planted evidence, whatever the allegations. We'll face up to them.
It doesn't actually say it's you or me.
Or anyone.
No.
It doesn't even mention Mr. Watt.
I tell you what, boy. I don't think we'll mention this to anyone unless we're asked. Understood? Now, you're due on that practice alert, so jump to it.
Righto, Sarge.
They're ready for you now.
Oh, good. You know, Arthur, when this is over, I'll have seen all I want to see.
But you've nearly still a full day in hand.
Exactly. Yes, I know. I'd like to look into those allegations. Informally, just to talk with the officers concerned. Will you allow me to do that?
Sir, with the greatest respect.
You're going to say no.
You know the rules as well as anyone.
Properly laid charges must be properly investigated, but there isn't one sentence of these allegations that gives grounds for formal charge. It's a hodgepodge of insinuation, innuendo.
It's pretty plain whose faces are being smeared.
Go on being smeared with nothing they can do to wipe off the mud.
Statement of the true facts.
Oh, you are sure of the true facts, then? Not quite sure. And as things stand, you cannot undertake to ferret them out for yourself. Whereas I have the right, the responsibility even to investigate working procedures.
I don't know. It's a tricky business.
You underestimate me, Arthur. After all, I was a prosecuting officer for some while. I hope I haven't lost my technique.
It means cancelling the rest of your inspection program.
Yeah. Mounted section at 11, dog section at 12. The horses will be noble, the dogs sagacious. I can put that in my report without even seeing them. And as for this afternoon, junior rank social centre, wives and children. It leaves only at 4:30 cadet and junior ranks passing out parade.
With military band accompaniment. Not out of police funds. They paid for it themselves.
Ah, well, that I cannot miss. But that leaves 6 hours to fill beforehand.
But they are already filled.
With horses and dogs and wives. Operational problems are surely more my concern. What do you say, Chief Constable Cullen's son?
I'll have the files ready for you, Richard, and a room to yourself as soon as the practice alert is over.
Foxtrot 11 to X-ray. Should be arriving in 2 minutes.
Foxtrot 3 coming in now. We are now approaching Kingley Hall. This is Foxtrot 5. There has been a slight delay, but we shall be arriving very shortly. Foxtrot 9 to X-ray, checking in now. X-ray to all units on practice task force alert. Chief Superintendent.What speaking. Not a bad turnout. I'd want it twice as fast for the real thing, but Mr. Sharp, Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary, wants me to tell you all that he's impressed. You'll be stood down now. Mr. Hawkins will send you up on your routine deployments. Let's show our visitor just how smartly we can do that as well. X-ray out.
Oh, good. Will you keep this line open for Mr. Sharp? And someone at the end of it to provide him with anything he requires. Is that understood? Ah, the files seem to be here already.
Hyper efficiency all round, huh?
Salmada JV, Salmada H, Salmada DN, Salmada and Partners.
If I were a Salmada, I'd seriously think of changing my name.
Oh, my criminal habits, huh? We lunch at 12:45. Oh, and the senior officers would wish you to take sherry with them first.
Thank you, Arthur. Yes, I shall require some items of stationery. Will you make a note of the following, please?
You hear him ask Mr. Hawkins?
Since I was standing next to him at the time.
What would you do now with a bomb scare 40 miles away?
And Mr. Hawkins said, trust in God and the lads on the spot. Which wasn't a bad answer.
No. Good question, though. No wonder they call him Needle Sharp.
Would you ask the duty officer to locate Mr. Watt for me, please, immediately?
He wants to see me.
John? The rest of today's inspection program is cancelled.
You bought it, then?
Yeah. I'm not sure that we were wise in selling it to him.
He'll be fair, sir. I'm counting on that.
PC Dodds?
Yes, sir.
You know, you look most uncomfortable standing there. Wouldn't you prefer to sit down?
Sir?
Sit down. Now, let me see. You know, I think we could do better than that if you could move your chair a few feet nearer. I could talk to you better. That's excellent. Now, there have been, as usual, in the past year, a number of serious injuries in the course of duty. Yours was one of them.
Yes, sir.
A blow to the nape of the neck, causing temporary paralysis. Your family must have been worried.
Well, it was the not being certain, sir, whether I'd pull out of it or...
While you yourself were blissfully unaware of the uncertainty.
That's right, sir. Till I looked up and saw P.C. Nesbitt leaning over with a face like a pregnant... Sorry, sir.
But you've completely recovered now.
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, that was very soon after you joined Number 1 Task Force. Before that?
I was on division, sir. Panda car for a while, then recently aide to CID. which brought me into running for like being spotted for task force.
Oh, you're on traffic for a while.
Yes, sir. I took a short spell on that.
You took a spell at your own request?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Nothing in that to bring you to the attention of Mr. Hawkins or Mr. What?
Well, it was for the driving, really. Handling the faster cars.
Yes?
And you do get some chances, sir.
Yes?
Well, all sorts on the motorways. Some of them Mr. Watt is quite interested in.
You would know them?
From the crime sheet, sir, if they're on the crime sheets.
And if they're not?
Word generally gets around.
But, Mr. Smith is a villain. The head of CID does not approve of Mr. Smith's villainy. Anything you can do to make life uncomfortable for Mr. Smith, including leaning on him for motoring offences and...
Something like that, sir.
Are there many Mr. Smiths about?
Not so many that I can't remember them all.
Is Mr. Salmada one of them? Mr. David Nigel Salmada, age 23, booked by you for a motoring offence very soon after your appointment as number 1 task force was confirmed. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there any connection?
Not that I know of, sir.
You didn't think at the time that leaning on Mr. Salmada might earn the approval of Mr. Watt?
That wasn't why I booked him, sir.
No. For exceeding the authorized speed limit.
Yes, sir.
By 8 miles per hour.
And driving without due care.
He denied it.
He would, sir.
And still does, publicly.
Well, he's lying, sir.
Oh, there are those who believe him, who wonder why he was, in his own words, picked on.
I didn't pick him out from any others.
Did you know who he was before you stopped him?
I'm not sure.
Or did you not know his car by sight?
I knew it was some foreign car.
A Scarlet Manta, license plate SALM3. You could hardly mistake that vehicle.
No, sir.
You would know without seeing the driver it was probably Mr. Salmada Jr.
As likely as not, yes, sir.
Mr. David Salmada, who, like our imaginary Mr. Smith, is a notorious villain.
He's got no criminal record, sir.
He comes from a villainous family.
We know that. Some think they're quite respectable.
A thorn in the side, which despite all your efforts, all your investigations, you've been quite unable to pluck out.
But they've got away with murder, sir, since long before I was on the force.
Murder?
Well, swindling, handling, thieving.
Stealing? What?
Well, I don't have the details to hand, sir.
But you do know the details?
Not exactly, sir. But everyone in the force knows they're up to all sorts of dodges. Anything the law only just allows or a smart lawyer can get them out of.
Till recently, that is.
Right, sir. I made sure my charges would stick.
Yes, you did. Sergeant Evans was equally successful. When you stopped the notorious Mr. Salmada Jr. for speeding, Sergeant Evans had just brought off a successful prosecution against the equally notorious Mrs. Salmada for shoplifting. But you knew about that, of course.
I knew about it, yes, sir.
Did you discuss the shoplifting prosecution with Sergeant Evans?
I wasn't on task force then, sir.
Well, of course not, but you might have bumped into Sergeant Evans at the headquarters sports ground, for example.
Not Sergeant Evans, no, sir.
Did you discuss the shoplifting prosecution with any of your other colleagues?
I might have, yes, sir.
To what effect?
I'm sorry, sir.
Well, did you wonder, for example, whether that might be the start of a new hardline policy against the Salmadas?
Might have been mentioned.
Did anyone suggest that Mr. Watt was out to get the Salmadas?
Never, sir.
What conclusions did you reach concerning the shoplifting allegation?
Mrs. Salmada got what she deserved.
And Mr. Salmada Jr. no more than he deserved?
He committed the offence, sir. I booked him.
Which leaves only Mr. Salmada Sr.
No, sir. We got him, too. I mean, sir, he was prosecuted by Mr. Watt shortly after the other two were booked.
For being in possession of firearms, an impending sentence of 6 months, subject to appeal. His just deserts?
Well, if there was any justice, sir, he'd get life.
Well, don't despair, P.C. Dodds. Thamesford Constabulary would have seemed to have had considerable success already in visiting justice upon the Salmadas.
We've got 24 discontented dogs on our hands.
How's that, sir?
All groomed up and no one to inspect them. For all I know, the horses might be discontented as well, but since they're not as intelligent, they can't tell us about it.
No, sir.
No. One person who can tell us, and everyone else, whether he's discontented or otherwise, is Mr. H.M.I. Sharp. I'm counting on him declaring otherwise. Which depends on what you and I and P.C. Dodds will be having to say.
What should we be saying, sir?
The truth, Sergeant Evans. What else?
Thank you, Dodds. You'll not discuss this interview with any of your other colleagues.
Thank you, sir.
Before you go, did you threaten Mr. Salmada when you stopped him?
I told him I intended to prefer charges, yes, sir.
Did you offer any physical violence?
No, sir.
Did you threaten him with violence on any future occasion?
Yes, sir, I did.
You did?
I told him that if ever
Don't go on, PC Dodds. This is an informal discussion. Nothing you say goes on the record, but I shall not be able to overlook any admission of gross indiscipline. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, is there anything you wish to tell me?
About this threat, sir? I asked to see his driving license. He pushed it across at me. There was a £10 note tucked inside.
Which you were expected to take?
Well, it's a common enough try-on, sir. If it works, fair enough. If it doesn't, back it goes, with the driver no worse off.
And in this case, it went back.
Well, if he tries to say otherwise...
I'm only concerned with what you said to Mr. Salmada.
I told him I ought to ram his money down his throat. I said I would do if he ever tried it on me again.
Did you report that part of the incident?
No, sir.
Oh, why not? It was attempted bribery.
Well, sir, if every beggar trying that dodge was reported...
Do you threaten every beggar trying it?
No, sir.
You don't offer to ram it down each and every threat.
No, sir.
But you did do so in the case of Mr. Salmada.
Yes, sir.
And you did pounce on Mr. Salmada for exceeding the speed limit by 8 miles per hour?
Yes, sir.
Would you do that in each and every case?
Well, it depends on the circumstances, sir.
Were the circumstances that you knew there was a hardline policy out against the Salmadas?
Well, they weren't exactly popular with anyone, sir.
No. Thank you, Dodds. Thank you. Yeah.
It would appear that it's my turn now, sir.
Don't keep him waiting.
No, sir. Sir.
Save it. Anything you have to say about anything is best said to Mr. Sharp.
Understood, sir.
How old are you, Dodds?
26, sir.
How long you been in the force?
5 years.
Marvelous.
Sir?
I'd got twice as much service in before I even knew that Her Majesty's Inspectors of Constabulary were capable of human speech.
He spoke to me quite naturally, sir.
Yes, he would. Very good at that.
Come in.
Sergeant 318 Evans, sir.
You've lost some weight since my last inspection.
Have I, sir?
Yes. Try and get a bit more off. Better for you.
I'll bear it in mind, sir.
Do sit down.
I would prefer to stand, sir.
This is an informal discussion.
Standing is less formal for me, sir, with your permission.
As you wish. Thank you for your directness. I will be equally direct. These files all refer to a family by the name of Salmada.
I know them, sir.
Yes, I'm quite sure you do. The Salmada family seem to have been of considerable interest to Thamesford Constabulary.
Criminals generally are, sir.
Your interest would seem to go further back than any record of their convictions for even minor misdemeanors.
It sometimes takes a while to catch up.
Surprising, since you were running so very hard in pursuit of them. Spurred on by Mr. What?
Any running that I did, sir, needed no spurring.
Tell me about that.
Sir?
When did you first sight your quarry?
The first brush I had with the Salmadas? And that would be about 8 years ago, before Mr. Watt came to Thamesford.
What happened then?
I was on crime patrol. We got a call to go to the Salmadas' house. Not the present one, the one they were living in at the time, which was big enough.
You were sent to investigate?
We were sent for by them. A complaint of threatening behavior. When we got there, they were barricaded inside, and a Mr. Colley was outside pointing a shotgun at their windows.
You restrained him?
No need to, sir. When he saw me, he calmed down. Now, that could have been passed off with a caution.
But it wasn't?
No, sir. Mr. Salmada insisted on serious charges being preferred. Colley was sent down for 6 months.
Not unreasonable for threatening with firearms. What was his grievance?
It's on the file, sir. Salmada and partners.
Just briefly.
Now, Colley was evicted from a farm cottage that Salmadas had acquired as part of a land deal. Thrown out by a couple of strong-arm men.
Illegal eviction?
Well, they called themselves bailiffs, and they had a court order.
Well, then?
Mrs. Colley was 5 months pregnant. She lost the child. If they hadn't been in such a hurry to gain possession...
Lack of consideration. I agree with you, Sergeant Evans, but there's nothing criminal about it.
No, sir.
Sigh of regret called for, Possibly on the collier's behalf. Would you advance that as a reason for the start of a vendetta against the Salmadas?
There's never been a vendetta, sir.
Just a steady pursuit of normal criminal investigations?
Yes, sir.
For 8 years, at least, before a single crime was laid at their door?
They were charged during those previous years, several times.
Mr. Salmada charged with receiving Mrs. Salmada with making a false declaration. Mr. Salmada, Jr., while still quite a lad, with causing an affray at a local club.
There were other charges, sir?
Well, spare me the full catalogue, Sergeant, since they're acquitted of all of them.
It's not surprising, sir. He's always bought good lawyers.
No defence, not even the highest paid, can guarantee an acquittal where the criminal is guilty and where the case for the prosecution is adequately presented.
No, sir.
So that if, as you say, the Salmadas were guilty of all the charges brought against them, it can only have been poor police work which led to their numerous acquittals.
Yes, sir.
Until recently, that is, when the first success against them was scored by yourself.
Yes, sir.
A notable success against a family of reputed master criminals. Mrs. Salmada bound over for stealing £5.50 worth of underclothing from a local store.
It was a start, sir.
Start of a new hardline policy, a policy of harassment.
There was no harassment, sir. It was a clear-cut case of shoplifting.
She claims it was misunderstanding.
It was her word against the store detectives.
A retired Thamesford police officer.
Yes, sir.
Who summoned you before he'd even reported it to the store manager.
Quite correctly, sir, on his subsequent evidence.
Which was?
That he saw her walking away with the goods.
How far away?
A good 25 yards from the main door.
Oh, she says not. She says she only took the garments as far as the door, the street, away from the artificial light, to verify the colouring under normal conditions.
Underclothes, sir?
Well, illogical as it may seem, Sergeant Evans, the store manager was prepared to believe her.
He would. The Salmadas are account customers.
He changed his mind after being interviewed by you.
I persuaded him where his company's interests really lay.
Are you always so persuasive?
Sir?
Well, shoplifters usually claim misunderstanding. Where the amount is small and the case is in some doubt, store managers are frequently prepared to give them the benefit of the doubt. Do you always urge them away from leniency?
Not always, sir.
But you did do so in this case.
Because of my knowledge of the background, I decided that leniency was ill-advised.
Which brings us to the next successful prosecution against the Salmadas by P.C. Dodds. How much would he have known of the family's background when he stopped young Salmada for speeding?
Very little, sir.
Very little?
Only what was common talk and not much of the detail.
Was it common talk the Salmadas were a family of notorious villains?
I would say yes, sir.
Was it common talk they were to be kept under constant surveillance?
Not to the extent of anybody going out of his way.
Was it common talk they were to be picked up, stopped, questioned, harassed under any pretext?
No, sir.
Did Mr. Watt ever pass the word down that he was out to get the Salmadas?
Never, sir.
He was, wasn't he?
I don't know what you mean, sir. I don't think you should be questioning me about Mr. Watt.
I'll decide what is proper for me to be asking you, Sergeant Evans.
Sir?
Did Mr. Watt at any time threaten to get the Salmadas?
If you know Mr. Watt, sir, you'll know that that just isn't possible.
There's a... it's over there. There's a report in this morning's Kingly Argus which implies that Mr. Watt did utter such a threat in the presence of another police officer.
That was me, sir. I heard it all, and Mr. Watt did not utter...
Sergeant Evans.
Sir, my apologies, sir.
Yes, I should think so, too. Now, I shall just take a moment or two to recover your equilibrium and then tell me in detail exactly what happened.
Yes, sir.
The Argus refers to, and I quote, a confrontation which took place not long before the final phase of the Thamesford Constabulary vendetta.
I can date it exactly, sir. It was the last of the many times we took Salmada to trial, only to see him slip away.
Go on.
We were leaving the court, Mr. Watt and I, when Salmada came out of the other door, accompanied by his solicitor.
The independent witness referred to?
Independent, my... Beg pardon, sir.
Go on.
Salmada turned on Mr. Watt. When are you going to give up? He said. And when Mr. Watt didn't reply, he turned to his solicitor. I thought they pensioned off broken-backed bloodhounds.
Which Mr. Watt responded to?
Yes, sir.
What did he say, as near as you can remember?
I can remember exactly, sir. Mr. Watt was very quiet-spoken. Broken-backed may be, he said, but you'll find that this bloodhound has teeth.
You say that was not a threat? You and Chief Superintendent Watt were present on a later occasion, the third in a series of successful prosecutions against the Salmadas.
Yes, sir?
The first two were mere nibbles. This was a real bite.
You could say that, sir.
Don't be coy with me, Sergeant Evans. Of course I say so. Mr. Salmada received a 6-month sentence. That's a big enough bite, isn't it?
Not good enough, sir.
How did it come about?
It's on the file, sir.
You assisted in the arrest?
Yes, sir.
I want your version of it.
As long as it's only my version, sir.
You're getting very near to being insolent, Sergeant Evans.
With the greatest possible respect, sir. If this is a formal inquiry, I would wish it to be carried on in a formal manner. If this is an informal talk, then I would reserve the right to refrain from gossiping about my superior officers.
Very well. Your version of the arrest of Mr. Salmada with no reference to the activities of anyone other than yourself.
Yes, sir. We got a tip-off about a meeting between Salmada and 2 associates. They were hard villains with long records. We suspected that Salmada had fenced for them in the past. Mr. Watt and I, with a team, were at the lay-by where the meet took place.
You arrived first and waited for them?
Yes, sir. In concealment, of course.
Of course. Go on.
The 2 hard men arrived first. Salmada came about 10 minutes later. Only there was no handover. No cash on one hand, nor stolen goods on the other. Instead, there seemed to be an argument. It sort of went on for quite a while, sort of on and off. Then, without anything else happening, they parted and broke away. Well, we thought we were out of luck.
But you weren't.
Mr. Watts made a snap decision. We should have a go at them anyway, so we jumped them.
On what grounds?
Suspicion of being in possession of stolen goods.
They weren't, though.
We drew blank with the villain's car. I was searching the boot of Salmada's car when Mr. Watt called out to me.
Yes.
He'd found something in Salmada's glove compartment.
Yes.
It is in the record, sir.
Mr. Watt had found 2 loaded pistols and a box of ammunition.
Yes, sir.
Was anyone with him when he found them?
Well, I was round at the back of the car. As for the other lads,
Could you see Mr. Watt from where you were?
No, sir.
The newspaper article this morning hints at planted evidence.
Another lie, sir.
Could Mr. Watt have taken the 2 guns from his pocket and put them in the glove compartment?
No, sir.
It would have been possible?
No, sir.
Nothing could have been easier?
No, sir. No. And again, no. Not Mr. Watt.
Shouldn't we wait for him, sir?
We'll have another when he arrives.
Cheers.
Your clean report.
Like a couple of school kids. Having a nip behind the head's back, waiting for the end of term report.
Arthur Cullen is industrious and resourceful, which makes up for him not being too bright.
Something like that.
And John Watt?
Will go far with a boot behind him.
What were your school reports like, John?
Hanged if I can remember. All I know is my teachers used to say I'd come to a bad end.
Come in, gentlemen. We are just waiting for our guest.
Let's hope he's on time, sir. I'm starving.
Salad. Without potatoes. All right, Sergeant?
That'll do me fine. Thank you. You could have gone home, Felix.
Yeah, I know.
Well, if you're going to hang around all day, make yourself useful. You can help me with these returns. Mr. Hawkins wants them ready immediately after lunch.
Yes.
Chief Superintendent Watt again, sir. As you'll be wanting to see me, would you like to come along to my office, sir? I have some exhibits here relevant to your inquiry. Save carting them up and downstairs, and as you were a bit pressed for time... Yes, well, You'll find my office a bit more comfortable than that cubbyhole they've put you in, sir. You will? Right. I'll send a lad along to show you the way. Thank you for coming to see me, sir.
Not at all.
I've got everything set out.
Yes, I see.
Of course, if you'd rather, I could have it all carted along to the office you're using.
No, they'll do here.
Anything you'd like brought along from there?
No.
Good. Permission to sit down, sir?
What? Yes, of course. Thank you.
Well, fire away, sir.
Fire away.
Well, you'll be wanting to ask me some questions, won't you, about the Salmadas and our handling of them? Mind you, once I get started on the subject, I'm liable to go on all night.
You don't like the Salmadas, do you?
Oh, nothing personal, sir. It's just that they're scum, and I don't like scum. Look, why don't I give you a brief rundown of the family history? The Salmadas came to this country some 20-odd years ago and spent a bit of time in London before they settled down in Kingley, here.
Amazing how ordinary it looks, isn't it?
Sir?
Well, for the birthplace of a crime wave.
Well, it wasn't exactly that, sir. Just a house they had a couple of rooms in.
Oh, they're under surveillance even then?
No, sir. That photograph was taken in connection with some stolen property found in the back cellar. Nothing definite on it. There were all sorts of different people living in the house at the time. The names were noted and tucked away for cross-referencing, including the Salmadas. And this is the next house they occupied.
A step up in the world.
Quite a step, since she was a hairdresser's assistant and he was a bouncer in a pin-table saloon. And this is where they came to the notice of a predecessor of mine. There he is.
Your predecessor, you mean?
No, sir. Mr. Salmada, as he was then.
Oh, yes.
The girl with him was missing from home. When she was brought in, she had a piece of paper in her handbag with an address in London on it. She'd heard of a job there, and she was on her way to it.
The job?
Prostitution, without a doubt. There's the piece of paper.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, the address was very well known to us at the time, but not to Mr. Salmada. No, he'd never heard of it. The only reason he was talking to the girl was because he'd recognized she was underage and he was telling her to go home. She was 13.
No fingerprints?
Only the girl's. He was careful even then.
Careful or guiltless?
Oh, could be. But it's a funny thing, though. The number of missing Kingley girls who we subsequently traced to that address. Which is one reason, I suppose, why he gave up that little racket. And went on to half a dozen more during the next few years. For a start, phony mail order. Lighters that wouldn't light. Watches that wouldn't tick. Phony religion. Phony charities. Oh, and here's a neat one. Tracing relatives who went missing in the concentration camps.
Worthwhile activity?
Yes. If he'd ever sold anything more than false hopes. But the going rate for that wasn't good enough. He was itching for the big time, and he found it in the arts and antiques business. He started on the knock, door to door, conning old people into selling their junk at 1/10 of its real value, and sometimes intimidating them into selling. Those are two of the strong-arm men he was using on the knock.
Known villains?
Known, of course. But not to Mr. Salmada. When they were nailed, he disowned them. When I came to Thamesford, he still had a clean sheet and an even bigger residence. Who says crime doesn't pay?
Barabbas, perhaps, since then it's been quite profitable.
It has for him.
Is it the crime or the massive profiting from it that you object to?
I get just as knocked by the little one, sir. 8,000-odd minor house break-ins on my patch in last year's figures, and most of them, as we know, committed by youngsters. But the one thing I can do is to wipe out the bad examples.
Like wiping out Mr. Salmada?
Like catching Mr. Salmada at his thieving.
But none of this is thieving.
No, that began, or rather we got wind of it, shortly after I arrived. £25,000 art robbery from Hoyden Grange. Mr. Salmader had valued it a week before. £80,000 worth taken from Warden Towers. Mr. Salmader had valued that collection 10 days earlier. Single painting worth £50,000 stolen from Home View. Mr. Salmader had seen it previously and made an offer of £30,000, which was turned down.
That sort of correlation
should have led to an arrest? Right, sir. So the next job they pulled, a collection of Victorian paintings, I was ready for them. We were up at Salmader's house with a search warrant 5 minutes after his suspected accomplices were seen to arrive, and he laughed in my face.
What was so amusing?
The fire in his back garden. He had a patent incinerator with a self-destruct mechanism which went off the minute we touched it. When we were able to search, all we could find were some charred pieces of canvas. I booked him all the same, relying on forensic evidence to identify the scraps.
Very difficult, but it can be done.
And it was done. But Mr. Salmader got an expert of his own from Amsterdam to swear that the only identifiable piece of canvas was woven 200 years too soon. Not conclusive proof of innocence, but enough to queer our case. So he got off.
Thieving, swindling, vice trafficking. Suspected, but not proven. What have we got against the rest of the family?
His wife used to run a nice line in obtaining goods on credit and then suing the suppliers for not coming up to specifications. The youngster runs the property side. He'd be a slum landlord if he went on letting some of it, but he finds it more profitable knocking houses down. And then the... Well, as I said, I could go on all night. So there you are, sir. What would you do about the Salmaders?
Well, no, Mr. Watt. The pertinent question is, what did you do about the Salmaders?
Watched them. Waited for them to make the first slip.
Nothing more?
What more could I have done?
Encourage the slips?
I don't work like that.
Please do sit down.
Sure.
Allegations have been made.
That's not unusual.
Backed by a question in the House from your local member.
Yes?
And given prominence in your local paper.
With neither the MP nor the Argus saying where they got the information from.
Well, they don't really have to at this stage.
No, they don't, as long as it catches votes or sells papers.
It also draws criticism of police methods.
You can answer that.
To those who understand, yes, you can, but not necessarily to the uninformed. To the, independent outsider, for example.
Such as we are now recommended to have sitting in judgment upon us?
Exactly. Now, take the point of view of such an independent outsider. You admit that you dislike the Salmaders.
I don't like what they do.
You consider them foreign scum.
I said they were scum. I only mentioned in passing that they came from abroad.
You keep a catalogue of their iniquities fixed in your mind to the point of obsession.
I'm obsessed with doing my job, part of which is catching thieves.
8,000 break-ins on your patch for which the Salmaders were not responsible. You show rather less obsession in pursuing those thieves.
Well, they've not been getting away with it for going on for 20 years.
Which has to be put a stop to.
Yes, sir.
You said so, too, Mr. Salmader.
Did I?
Yes, you did. One version is that you threatened to get him.
Do you believe that?
No, I don't. It would be foolish to say so, and you're not a fool.
Thank you.
I do accept you said this bloodhound has teeth.
I'll confirm it, I said.
Sergeant Evans was with you when you uttered those words.
He was?
He would know what you meant by them.
Well, we didn't discuss it, but he'd understand me, yes.
And lost no opportunity in proving your words.
He was given the opportunity.
How?
The shop detective who caught Mrs. Salmader got in touch with us straight away, and Sergeant Evans went to deal with it.
Why Sergeant Evans? Why not another police officer?
I suppose he was the one available.
There was no instruction, no understanding that any incident concerning the Salmaders was to receive special treatment.
No.
No policy of harassment, unofficially approved.
If I'd got to know of any harassment, I'd have come down on it like a ton of bricks.
You didn't come down on P.C. Dodds?
Why should I have done?
For being overzealous in prosecuting young Salmader on a minor motoring offence for uttering threats, which Dodds admits.
What threats?
When Salmader offered him a bribe, he threatened to ram it back down his throat.
I'd have likely done the same.
Oh, would you now? Would you really, Chief Superintendent?
Well, perhaps not in those words, but whatever I had said, it would have meant the same.
Experience brings subtlety with it.
I prefer to call it wisdom, sir.
Well, how subtle or wise were you in dealing with Mr. Salmader Sr.?
As wise as I know how to be, I hope, sir, without any subtlety.
You received information he was going to meet two well-known thieves.
That's right.
The implication being that a handover of stolen goods was going to take place.
That was the implication.
You positioned yourself where you could observe the meeting and make an arrest immediately afterwards.
We were here The lay-by is there.
You have a mania for photography.
Dates from my crime squad days, sir. Never know when it might come in useful. These are the shots that we took of the two cars arriving, Mr. Salmadra and the other two getting out, meeting, and talking.
But nothing was handed over.
Unfortunately, no.
And yet you decided to jump them. Why?
As you can see from these shots, sir, they weren't just talking. They were arguing. And in this one, almost struggling. I felt it was worth looking into.
Why? You couldn't arrest them for that.
I just had a hunch.
Wasn't part of your hardline policy for jumping the Salmaras at every opportunity?
It couldn't have been, sir, because there was no such policy.
Then why show your hand at this stage when, as far as you could tell, there was nothing to be gained by it? You didn't know he had the guns in the glove compartment, did you?
I did not.
Has he ever been in possession of firearms before?
Never caught with any.
Then why this one time? And was it just coincidence that you decided to search him on this one occasion?
All right, sir. I half expected to find something of the sort. I never did believe that they were just meeting for a handover.
Why not?
These two men are the same two men he had washed his hands of some years earlier when they were done for being on the knock. I didn't think they'd ever want to meet him again for business, except one sort of business.
Blackmail.
That's right, sir. And if he'd agreed to meet them, it was for one of two reasons. Either to buy them off or scare them off.
With an even chance it would lead to violence.
Yes.
You took that chance.
Yes, sir.
You even allowed the quarrelling between the three men to continue for quite a while, on and off.
I never stop thieves falling out, sir. We make arrests that way.
But Salmadra is not a thief.
Oh, sir.
No, you can speculate on that possibility, but you cannot claim that a man with no previous guilty record is a thief. Which puts you, Mr. Watt, in a very awkward situation.
I'm aware of that, sir.
You see, on the face of it, you allowed a perfectly innocent man to meet two violent criminals whom you suspected of intended blackmail. You did nothing to prevent the meeting. You stood by while the first flare-up of violence occurred. You even had it photographed, and only intervened when, as far as you knew, the meeting was over.
I'll stand having my judgment criticized, sir. We often do when we cannot reveal our true reasons.
It's going to be more than your judgment that's open to criticism, Mr. Watt. With Salmadra now claiming you planted the guns on him.
I'll have to prove that.
Against your contention of finding them in his possession. With no other witness to the moment of discovery. With the fact now emerging you previously uttered words that could be interpreted as a threat. And all this following on what has been described as a vendetta against the entire Salmadra family. Yes. You dug yourself into a pit, Chief Superintendent. You better start digging your way out again.
You report this to Mr. Collins, sir?
Unofficial, no?
And officially?
Officially, I've been examining the workings of Thamesford CID. They display, as always, remarkable qualities of integrity and initiative, but they're sometimes pertinacious to the point of running their heads into brick walls.
Now you've got him asking questions.
Mr. Hawkins.
Wants to know why you're still hanging around.
I better be off.
That's all right. I told him you had a passion for military bands. Waiting to hear that one playing on the passing out parade.
Not a bad idea. It might cheer us both up.
It might. It's a cheerful enough event. Now, why can't the local press give us coverage on that?
There's more mud to be slung.
Is there?
I'm afraid so. Although I don't believe the worst of it, Arthur, yet, well, having played the devil's advocate on your behalf, I can see that others may very well believe it.
bad as that.
Yes.
They're just lining up.
Oh.
Let's take a stroll down.
Sir, I know you've only got a couple of minutes, but this won't take more than a couple of minutes. Come. Thank you, sir. Evans, Dodds. Sir. Excuse me, sir. My mania for photography, sir. Seems it stands me in good stead. I don't know why I didn't go through the whole batch at the time, except that I knew I had an honest case. I'd given my word to it. But it seems I have concrete proof. First slide, Sergeant Evans. It's not very different from any of the other shots, except for that left arm. So I had this one blown up. Ah, you can see he's holding something behind his back. It looks like a handkerchief. But on looking closer, you can see what it is. And if that isn't proof that he had the gun before I went anywhere near him, I don't know what is. All right, Sergeant Evans.
You good, sir?
Sergeant Evans.
Sir.
You must be delighted that your passionate loyalty to Mr. Watt can be vindicated.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You can go. Thank you, Sergeant Evans. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
What shall we do, John? Submit this officially?
If you do, Arthur, and I'm still speaking informally, if you do submit this now, your critics may well ask, why was it not submitted before?
They might, sir.
Which could lead to their asking, why was it not seen at the moment the photograph was taken that Salmada was armed?
Sort of question I'd likely ask myself, sir.
They could go on from that to ask further. If it was seen that Salmada was armed, why did not the police intervene sooner? Don't answer that question now, Chief Superintendent. When and if the time comes for me to put it to you formally, I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say. At this moment, I will state this, formally. Taking shortcuts to corner guilty men may seem necessary, but it can never be justified. Is that clear?
Perfectly clear, sir.
Come along, Arthur. We're keeping your new lads waiting.
Coming to watch, John.
No, thank you, sir. I always get a bit choked at passing out parades. Those young lads don't know what they're letting themselves in for.